Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to quickly show you how we can insert pictures into MS Word and also edit them. And towards the end of the video, I'll also show you how you can remove the background of an image and also the various ways of wrapping text around an image and how to use an image as a page background as well. So do watch the video till the end in order to be able to learn. So let's get started. Firstly, in order to insert an image, you will need to go into the Insert tab of Microsoft Word. And once you click on the Insert tab, you will find Pictures under Illustrations. And you can click on the drop down below Pictures and you will notice that there are three options. You can insert pictures into Microsoft Word either from your local desktop, or you can also insert it from online pictures that are already available. And these are the two main options that people make use of while inserting images. So let me just say that I want to insert an image of a dog and I don't have it saved on my desktop. Then I can just click on online pictures and I can search for pictures that I'm looking for. These are you want. Let's just say I select this image and then you'll have to click on the insert button. So in this manner, you can insert images from online sources, or again, if there is something that is available locally on your desktop, then you can select on this device and select wherever your image is available and go ahead and insert that as well. Now once you insert the image, you will notice that there is a picture format tab that opens up, and this is what is going to enable you to edit your image further. Once you get into this tab, you will notice that there are a couple of options for editing your images, and starting with, for example, if you want to correct the lighting of your image and you feel like it's not bright enough or you want to make it a little darker, then you can go ahead and change the brightness of your image, and you can go ahead and also change the color tone and color saturation. So these are some of the options available. You can kind of make it black and white, or you can adjust the color saturation from this option. And there are certain artistic effects. If you hover over these options, you will also notice that it clearly mentions to you what kind of an artistic effect this is. This is a pencil grayscale effect, and hover over here, you have something else. You have a paintbrush or paint stroke kind of option, so you can go ahead and choose those as well. And then there's also something called as transparency. So this becomes useful when you want the image to be in the background and the text to be more evident and visible and come into the foreground. And we'll go ahead and use that once we are trying to use this image as a background. There are also a lot of picture styles over here, and if you select on the drop down, these basically will let you adjust the shape of your picture. Right now it's a rectangle. You can also make it have borders and boundaries which are different looking. For example, there's like a circle like this, or there's something with edges, corners like this. So you can go ahead and edit your image like this. Whatever style you feel like using, you can make use of those from picture styles over here. Coming to the picture borders, if you want there to be a border to your picture, then you can go ahead and select any color of the border as well, and you can also select the weight. For example, if I want it to be a thick border, I can choose the thickness over here, and if I kind of want something like dotted lines around my image, then I can choose that as well and give it a color based on what color I'm looking for. Additionally, there are also some other picture effects over here, like a shadow effect, if you kind of want to give it like a shadow effect. So you can see that, as I'm just hovering over each of these, the image is also changing a little bit to give you a shadowing effect. And you can go ahead and try out these as well. These are different options that you can just use based on how you want to make it look. The next thing is that you also have a picture layout option. If you kind of want to fit this image into any specific smart art, then that is where this becomes useful, because you can take it and fit it into any of these available smart art options. For example, if I wanted to be the picture to be a part of this specific smart art, I can do that as well. Now coming to the next thing about how do you increase or decrease the size of your image. First things first is that you can either do it by extending it over here. If I want to increase the height, I can do it here. If I want to increase the width, I can do it like this. If I want to keep the aspect ratio or the ratio of the image constant, but I want to increase the size, then I can go ahead and do that over here. I can do it manually, or I can come into the sizing section and I'll see something called as height and width. So if I increase the height or the width, basically the image ratio is going to stay the same proportional. For example, right now this is 10.58, 15.96. Let's say I change this to 15, then proportionally the width is also going to increase in order to be able to keep the aspect ratio the same. So you can go ahead and increase your height and width from here, but this is going to keep your aspect ratio constant. So if you just want to increase the height, you can do it from here, or just want to increase the width also, you can do it from here. And the next important thing is, if you want to crop your image and you don't want too much of the background to be present and you just want to crop it, then you can just directly click on crop, and you'll notice that these four rectangles open up over here at the corner of your images, and you can just move it to adjust it in a way as to how much ever of the image you want. And let's just say that this is the cropped size that I want my image to be, but I want more of the dog to be present in the center and I want lesser of the background, so I can just move it around and just crop it and click on anywhere outside and it gets cropped in this manner. So coming to another important thing, which is if ever you want to crop it to a certain shape, like you want this image to be present inside of a circular shape or different shapes, you have a crop to shape option. This becomes useful when you're trying to fit an image to a specific shape, be it like, let's say you're in a corporate setup and you want to fit people's images into organizational chart that you're creating, and you want to fit everyone's image into a circle, then this becomes very useful. So how do you crop it to shape is basically you can explore the different shapes that you have. You have like triangle or a circle, or you have like diamond shape. So you can choose a shape that you want to crop it to. For example, if I want to crop it to like a circle, I can just click on that shape and it's going to get cropped, and I can adjust the size, and that's how the image is going to get cropped to a certain shape. Coming to aspect ratio, if I want the ratio of the image, like we obviously have portrait kind of images or landscape kind of images. Portrait images are going to be more like a vertical image, and landscape images will feel like a horizontal image like the one we have right here. For example, if I want it to be like more like a vertical image, then I can just change the aspect ratio to any specific aspect ratio that I'm looking for, and adjust and move around the image like this so that the image falls within my aspect ratio. And in this manner I can make use of different aspect ratios that are already predefined. Now the next thing is, let's just say that you want to flip this image and you don't want it to look like this, and you want the right to become left, left to become right. Then you can go into this rotate option over here, and first thing is that you can also rotate it by 90 degrees, rotate left as well. So you can also do a rotation of your image, but you can also flip it if you want to flip it. So flip it vertically or flip it horizontally. So if I do a flip horizontal, the right is going to become left and left is going to become right. The next option that we're going to discuss is one of the most interesting options that Microsoft Word offers to edit an image, which is to remove the background. So for some reason, if you're looking to like remove the background of this image and you just want the dog to be displayed and you don't want any of this background to be present, then there is a remove background option. And when you click on this, you will notice that Microsoft Word does a very good job with selecting the background of the image to be able to remove it automatically. But if it is not selected it perfectly, then you also have a pen option where you can select the image that you want to keep and also select the parts which you want to remove. So let's just click on this and see what happens. So when I click on remove background, you'll notice that it has changed a lot of it to pink. So everything that's looking pink in color is now going to be removed if I just say keep changes. But I also noticed that it has not done a completely good job with recognizing it, because it has cut some parts of the dog as well. So you have two options called as mark areas to keep or mark areas to remove. So this is an area of the dog which I basically want to keep, but Microsoft Word has recognized it as some background itself. So I'm going to select mark areas to keep. Let's just say there is some other part in the background that got left behind and it had to be removed. Then I will select mark areas to remove, but right now I want to keep some areas, so I'm going to select mark areas to keep. And then it gives you a pen like structure here which allows you to sort of draw around it manually. You don't have to do a perfect job with it, but you can just draw around it so that you can convey to Microsoft Word that this part is something that I'm looking to keep. So once you do that, you'll notice that now the dog is just present and the background is in pink right now. So I can click on keep changes and you'll notice that the background has gone. If there are any other further minute changes that you're looking to make, for example, I see a little bit of background over here, then you can again click on the image, of course, and get into the picture format option and go to remove background once again. And right now I kind of want to remove some area, because so far I've used mark area to keep, but right now I see that there's a little bit of background here that I want to remove. So I can use the pen like structure again and sort of make a small line over here carefully, and I think there is a little bit of the dog that got cut off again, so I'm going to remove that once again, and it looks a lot better right now. So I'm just going to click on keep changes. So this is a very interesting feature that you can use, and every time the picture editing tab over here disappears, you just have to click back on the picture and it will take you back into the picture format tab. Now that we've seen the remove background, we'll also see a reset picture option over here. If for some reason you don't like any of the changes that you've made and you want to bring back the picture to its complete original shape, instead of clicking on undo maybe 10-20 times, then you can click on reset picture. It's basically going to reset all the changes that you have made to the image with respect to any of these corrections or coloring effects or artistic effects or remove background. If you just want to also reset the size of the picture as well, you can select reset picture and size. If you just want to reset the picture in the sense that whatever whatever artistic effects you have done on the picture, then you can click on just reset picture, and this is what's going to happen. Now let's just say for some reason I've also made some changes to the size as well, and I've made it of this size, for example. So when I click on the picture format and I click on just reset picture, it's not going to reset the size, it's only going to reset any of the artistic effects done to it. If I want to reset the size and any cropping that has been done to it, then I will have to reset the picture and size. I can just go ahead and reduce the size of this image by pulling it over here. Now one of the last and interesting thing that we're going to discuss is the concept of the position of the image and also text wrapping. Basically, by default, an image gets inserted into Microsoft Word as an text element itself. So if I kind of want to move this image, you will notice that I'm not really going to be able to move the image to the right side or the left side or top or bottom exactly, because this is already inserted as something in line to your text. So when it is in line to your text, the only thing that I can do is keep my cursor at the image and probably hit the space bar, or I can hit the enter button or the backspace. So this is basically being treated as a text, and this is what happens by default when you insert an image. So you will not be able to move around the image wherever you want to move it. So what you're going to do is, if you want to move around the object, first of all, then you will have to go into the picture format, and you will notice two things called as position and text wrap over here. You'll notice that position is basically the position of the image when it is inline or with text wrapping. So one of the two cases can happen. Either your image can be inline, which means that it's going to be treated as a text object, or it can be wrapped with the text, which means that it's going to be treated as an image and the text will wrap itself around the image. So if we want it to be treated as an image and not as a text object, then we will have to come out of the inline mode, but inline is the basic default option that is it's going to be inserted with. Now, let's just say that I don't want it to be inline, I want it to be treated as an image. So then I can use any one of these options which says square, tight, through, top and bottom, or behind the text or in front of the text. These are everything other than inline with text. All of the other options are options which allow the text to get wrapped around the image. Now, how do they get wrapped around the image is what is described by whether it is wrapped in a square manner or tightly or through it or top and bottom or behind the text or in front of the text. So how is this text going to get wrapped around the image is what's going to be described by these options, and whether it is going to get wrapped or not is what is going to be decided by whether it's going to be inserted inline or it is going to be inserted as an image itself. Now I don't want inline, so let me just select one of these options, because any one of these options is going to allow me to treat it like an image. Let's just say I select square. Now that I've selected square, what I can do is, you can see a diamond shaped cursor that comes on this, and now this is going to allow me to move the image around like this in whichever direction I want to move it. Now that we've come out of the inline option and we can move around the image, let me just paste some text over here in order to explain to you the other wrap text options that are available. Now the first thing that I get to decide for my image is where do I want the image to be positioned on my page. So if this is one page of my Microsoft Word document, then in that page where do I want my image to be positioned. So if I click on the drop down with for the position, there's obviously inline, but I don't want it to be inline because I can't move it freely as an image. Firstly, where do I want the image to be placed? So this is the top left corner of the page, or do I want it in the center or the top right corner? This is the middle to the left, middle, center, middle, right. Similarly, this is the bottom left, bottom center and bottom right. So I can go ahead and firstly choose where I want to position my image. Now once you're done with choosing the position of your image, you can decide what style of text wrapping do you want. So when we say style of text wrapping, we have a couple of options here which say square, tight, through, top and bottom. Square basically means that whatever text is present on this page of the document, it is going to wrap itself in the shape of a square around the image. That is, if I just click on square, and you just see that if I move my image somewhere over here, for example, between the text, what it's going to do is that, let's just reduce the size of the image for our understanding. What it's going to do is that when I move the image, however I move the image, it's going to wrap the text that I have put in such a manner that it wraps it in a square shape around the image. That is, these are the boundaries of the image. If you can see that wherever these tiny dots are present, and the text is wrapping itself exactly in a square or a rectangle shape around the image. So that is what we mean by text wrapping in a square format. Now let's just say tight. So where does tight become useful? Right now you're not able to really notice any difference if I swap to tight or through, right? But where does tight become useful is, for example, if I just go to my picture format and remove the background again, and now we will notice that I have still used the text wrapping option which is called as square. So this is the boundaries of the image and the text has wrapped itself to the boundaries of the image. But right now let's just say that once I come out of this image, I notice that there is a lot of empty space. Although this is the boundary of the image, but there's a lot of empty space and my actual image is sitting somewhere in the middle over here and it's not having a very definitive surface to it. It's very uneven in shape, right? Let's say I want my text to wrap completely itself to this image that is there and leaving all the white spaces. That is when the option of tight and through come to use. If I now say tight, you will notice that the text around my image is going to get wrapped in such a way that it comes as close as possible to the image that is present by overcoming all the background which is white in color. So in this manner, I'm able to sort of, if I move it like, if you move it, you'll notice that the text adjusts itself and wraps itself in such a way that it's going to wrap itself around the image exactly and not in a square or a rectangle shape, but it's going to wrap itself tightly to the image, ignoring any white spaces that are present within the boundaries of the image. And the through option is very similar to the tight option. The only difference is that within through, if there is something like a donut shaped something that you have placed and it has a hole in between, there's just like a white background around the image and also there is empty space in the middle of the image. So if you use the through option, what it does is it also recognizes empty spaces within the image and it allows text to flow through the image wherever there are empty spaces as well. So that's the only tiny difference between tight and through. And you can also make use of top and bottom, which ensures that the text is present either only at the top of the image or only at the bottom of the image. It will not come anywhere to the left, right. For example, if I choose to move the image, you will notice that it adjusts itself or wraps itself in such a way that it's present only at the top or the bottom of the image. So that is your top and bottom. And also the next most important option is behind text or in front of text. Now for some reason, let's just say that I want to use this entire image that I have selected as the background of my entire page present over here. What can I do in that case? So firstly, to understand that, let me just bring back the background and reset the image. Now that I've resized it, let me just go back to picture format, and if I go ahead and select the option which says behind text, it basically means that the image is now going to be placed behind the text and the text is going to come in front of it. If I say in front of the text, it means that the text is going to go into the background and the image is going to come into the foreground. Let's just say most of the time we use something called as behind text. So now what happens is if I move my image, you'll notice that it slides behind the text and my text is present over here. In order to be able to see it more clearly, let's just say that we go back to picture format and we kind of transparency. This is where our transparency option also comes to use. I want to make the image more transparent so that it's just present in the background. So I'm just going to increase the transparency of the image. So my text has been able to come over my image. Now, where does this become very useful is in situations where, for example, I want to use the image of this dog as the background of this specific page of the Microsoft Word document. Then what I can do is I can obviously go ahead and increase the size of the image like this and make it the background. Or what I can also do is, this is where I can make use of another option called as fill and fit cropping options. So there is a fill option and a fit option. So I can first click on crop, and once I click on crop, I can adjust this crop to exactly the ends of the page, right? So I can move it like this and I can make sure that the cropping is being done in such a way that it is going to cover the entire page. Now I want this image to be cropped in this certain fashion, which is wherever the rectangles are, I want it to be cropped to that size. Now cropping, we always think that always means we reduce the size of the image or we remove parts of the image, right? But cropping also can mean that we want to expand the image in such a way that it fits the page or it also fills the page. Now what's the difference between fill and fit is that if I make use of fit, what happens is that the aspect ratio of this image is not going to change, but it's going to increase to its maximum possible size while retaining its aspect ratio to be able to fit itself into this boundary that I have created. Versus fill, on the other hand, is wherein the image is going to try to increase its size in such a way that it tries to fit itself within these boundaries by changing its aspect ratio also. Aspect ratio is basically, for example, if this image is in the form of 4:3, then if I choose fit, the 4:3 is always going to remain, but it's going to try to increase its size to the maximum possible capacity in order to be able to fit itself to these boundaries that I have created without changing the aspect ratio. So let's just click on that and see. So you'll notice that the image has increased its size to its maximum possible capacity while retaining its original aspect ratio in order to be able to fit into these boundaries that I have set. Now for our reference, I want it to become the background of this entire page, right? So I basically want to fill it into this page. I don't want any white spaces, and I want the entire image of the dog to be the image or the background of my entire page. So I basically want to fill it, which means I'm okay with the aspect ratio changing also, but I want to fill up the entire page with this image. So I'm going to select fill. So when I select fill, you'll notice that the image adjusts itself in such a way that it changes the aspect ratio also, but it's going to completely increase its size in such a way that it's going to fill up the entire boundaries that I have set over here. I can go ahead and move the image in such a way that it adjusts itself so that the dog is centered and things like that. But this is what is the options of fill and fit. And now this would make more sense for my text to be present on top of this, right? So right now my image is in front, so I can also send it backwards. I basically want to send the image back and I want the text to come front. So I'm just going to select send backwards, and the image has gone back, and now we can go ahead and come out of this, just click outside the page, and you'll notice it has become the background. And now I can continue typing my text some other color so that it's a little more visible. So yeah, I can use this as my page background now, and I can type my text on top of this image. So these are primarily all the picture formatting options that we have discussed. So removing background, and these are some adjustments that you can make. You can also keep resetting your picture, either the effects that are applied on the picture or the size of the image, and there are style options also for your pictures, and there is a height and width that you can increase manually or from here, and you can also crop it to shape also, and these are aspect ratios. You can fill or fit the image to a specific cropped size that you have chosen. You can also flip the image or rotate the image, and position and wrap the text also is something that we have seen. So you can go ahead and try this out and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section, and I'll try and help you out. And until then, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.